We're back.
Here we
We're
are
back.
once again.
We're back. Beth's pumped. We're back and Beth's pumped.
Yep. Yep.
Woo! How you doing? How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. I'm excited.
You're excited. Can you hear the cough drop in my mouth? If you can, I won't leave it in there. Can you hear
Um,
it like rattling around?
no, no.
Okay. Great. Give me the sign if you can.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I hope Podsters, all of you are doing excellent. It is time for my shout out because I did say if you reach out, you get a shout out. You love up on us, we live up on you. Love up, excuse me. Joanna, my friend. Joanna is in Germany, I
Ooh,
believe. Uh-huh. Listens to the podcast, liked the book, all that stuff. So thank you, Joanna, for reaching out, and we like you too.
yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Okay. So what are we going to talk about today, Beth?
Well, we're going to talk about something that I really like your perspective about. We are talking about the power of the five
Hmm.
whys. And I really like this because I have always struggled with people who walk around with, you have to know your why. You have to know your why. You have to know your why. And you know how I am. I'm a little bit of I'm a resistance rebel from the things that everyone jumps onto. But I
Yep.
really like how you kind of dissect this concept. So
Great. So I love it, and I use this tool all the time. I would love to take credit for inventing it. I cannot. This was actually well, let me talk about why you do it first. So what we're talking about is when you want to get down to any kind of behavior change or any kind of clarity or any kind of searching, for lack of a better term. It's very effective to ask yourself why you are doing this, why you are looking for this outcome, why you are actioning this. So whatever the situation is. So let's say you are ready to transition your career. I would ask you, if you were coaching with me, why is this important to you now? The power of the five whys is that you continue to ask yourself this question. And I know you will be surprised, Podsters. I have a tool for this. It's a 5 why worksheet. I'll put the link in the show notes. So you keep asking yourself why your previous answer was important to you. So let's say I want to lose weight. The question is, why do you want to lose weight right now? And I might say, because I am sick of feeling like crap. Well, why is it important to you that you feel better? So I would think about that. Why is it important to me to feel better? Okay, it's important to me that I feel better because I am approaching the back nine, and I would like the rest of my life I want to truly thrive. I want to be in great shape. I want energy. I want to. Okay. Well, why is that important to you, right? So you're at the back nine. You want energy. You want to be able to thrive. Why do you think that's so important to you? So you would go deeper and you would say, because all my life I have kind of gone back and forth with feeling good about myself, and I am sick of not always feeling good about myself. The time is now. Why? Okay, well, why do you feel that the time is now? So by the time you do this 5 times, you get down to some heavy stuff, usually. And for me, at the time when I did this a few years ago, it was because I have less time left than has passed. And if I don't start living my truth in terms of my health and fitness now, I never will, and I won't be able to. And if I don't start doing this now, I won't be able to because I will not physically be able to. And okay, why is that important? I don't want to end up old and alone sitting in a wheelchair looking out the window in a nursing home. So I am not getting choked up, guys. This is I have my throat. My throat is a little sore. So excuse me. So it's going to go in and out. So as you continue to go down deeper and deeper and deeper, you really uncover the true why. And that is difficult. That can bring up a lot of issues. You will likely face some resistance. And I promise you that when you get to that last why, 9 times out of 10, there's an epiphany. There is a reason that you had no idea, was not even close to being on your radar. Beth just gave me a big head nod, so I'm going to pause and ask Beth why she's nodding her head at me.
Yes. So I'm nodding my head at you because, first of all, I think that when we're asked about our why in concern to anything, we tend to just say what's on the top of our minds and not take the time to dig deep. But when you invest in what's really going on a little bit deeper and you have an epiphany like that, it's just so rewarding, right? To really find out what's at the heart of it. It makes it easier to follow that why, right? To stay committed to it
Mm-hmm.
rather than, like, for me, a lot of this is, is business related because people will say, people want to know your why. And you often hear people say, because I want to help people. And that's lovely. And we all want to help people, but that's not the only why. That's your surface why and your general why and your everybody's going to like when I say this why. But there's usually some deeper reason further down, further back, and sometimes we don't even know it, right? We don't know that connection. But you should because that's really the passionate piece of the why.
Yes. And that will keep you going. That will keep you going when your motivation wanes. And that will keep you going when you get frustrated. If you're building your own business, you will be frustrated more often than not, probably. That will keep you going. And that will keep you, we talked in the last episode about engineering the life you love. This will help you keep that commitment. And in this case that I used, that was a real life example. It wasn't my 5 whys. I can't remember what they were, to be honest with you, but it was something very close to that. That kept me going. So when I didn't feel like doing the strength training, let's say, I thought about, if you don't get strong now, you won't be able to get strong later. And that kept me focused. So the person that brought this to me is Lauren Bradley. She is a health coach. I believe she's taken a break from health coaching. Lauren, if you're listening, please reconsider. A lot of people need you. Anyway, and it was great. So then I adapted it for my career coaching and when I work with women on what they want to do next. And I'm going to share two stories. I'm going to share, one of them was very recent and the other one wasn't. So I'm going to share the least most recent story first because it applies to either understanding your side hustle or your small business and what drives you, or it can help you understand why you do what you do and if you should be doing what you're doing in the corporate world. So I was speaking with a friend and I was mentoring her, and she's going to know exactly what I'm talking about because she often references this moment. She was in sales her whole life, and I said, well, what do you like about sales? And she said, I like building relationships. And I said, okay. And she said, and I like talking to people. And I'm like, okay. And she was giving me kind of surface answers. And finally, I said to her, this was before I had the 5 whys in my toolkit. I said, what are you even talking about? Nobody, like, you like ringing the cash register for your boss. That's why you love what you do. What is it? Why do you love sales? Why do you love connecting people? What is it? Why do you love to do this? And it turns out she loves community, not sales, community. And there's a reason why she loves community, and it's based on a trauma that happened to her in her past with her family. And she knows better than most why community is important. So she had subconsciously made this her mission. And she ended up, by the way, going on to then pursue that. She now has a whole intentional living business. She is locked and loaded on community. So we went from, I like relationship building and I like sales, to, you know what? I know how important community is, and this is what drives me, and this is what I'm going to dedicate all my energy to. I mean, like, wow. Wow, what a difference, right?
Yes,
Best
very
nodding.
much.
Best nodding is they can't hear you nod.
Guys can't hear me
Spoiler
nod?
alert.
You
No.
can't hear my hair shaking or anything?
No.
No? No.
Um, so tell me about you said you come up to this, you come up to this. You experience this with some of your clients when they're trying to articulate their why. Is that am I did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, I think that, you know, again, dealing in, like, a heavily female populated community, I think that there's a lot behind it. This is probably a whole other episode, but, the first reaction always is, "I wanna help people." And I think we talked lovingly and respectfully not too long ago about the difference between a jobby and a career. And a lot of the times, women have an issue saying, I want to make money to support my family so we never have to be homeless again, or something a little more vulnerable and personal. And we don't like to say, I'm doing this because I'm good at it and I want to make money, right? Like we shy away from saying that piece of it for whatever reason. It doesn't feel great. But, you know, people who walk around and say, I want to make money, there's a why for that too, right? That goes
Oh,
deep.
100%.
And so, you know, it's and it takes time. It takes time to, I think, to look at it and feel safe opening up to it and going to what's underneath. Because do we want to help people? We all want to help people, right? I mean, that's nice and that's lovely, but we also want validation for the fact that we're good at something. We want
Mhm.
to know our worth, and we want to know it in praise, and we want to know it in dollars, and we have reasons for all our stuff.
And we have big reasons. So you said there's a why to why people might want to make a lot of money.
Mhm.
And I would say also there is a why to why people think they want to make a lot of money and then sabotage themselves so that they don't make a lot of money.
Yes.
So anytime I'm stuck at somewhere and I can't figure out what's going on, I always go back to this, and it's not always fun. I got to tell you, it brings up some painful stuff. It does. It really does. I mean, that's how I remember the bullying story was I've totally forgotten about that.
Mhm.
I remembered something that happened to me when I was like probably 7, and I had no I know with certainty that this is a real memory. I hadn't thought about it in 40 years because
Mhm.
I was thinking to myself, and this was over a long period of time, right? Like why is this so important to me? And it was a blockbuster. It was a blockbuster. It was a blockbuster. And actually, so I've often said that I made it my life's mission, excuse me, to help women speak up because I um somebody taught me how to speak up and then didn't speak up for herself. And then, so this is right. This was in my book, and this has been for 5 years that I've been saying this. It wasn't until a couple weeks ago that I realized because I kept asking myself the why. Not, I didn't sit down and say why. I was just like, you know what, this something else is going on here. What is it? That I saw the women in my life growing up um, never speak up, and I saw them get reprimanded for speaking up, and I saw them, excuse me, get penalized for speaking up. And I remember thinking to myself, that's not going to happen to me. And I'm not going to let that happen to anyone else. I share this because there are so many layers to this. So many layers. So
Right.
many layers. It's like an onion. It's like an onion.
Yes.
For those of you with college kids, I mean, I think it would be kind of a fun exercise to really drill down with the kids is, well, why is this your number one school? Or kids who are about to go to college. Why do you want to go to Notre Dame? Why do you want to go to whatever, San Diego State, whatever it is? It's is it just a sports program or is there something else? Is it because it's far away? Is it because it's close? And if they say, I want to go here because it's far away, right? Like why do you think it's important to get that far away from us? Because of this. Well, why is that important to you? And it's usually around that fifth one that the breakthroughs happen. And it will be awkward. It will be awkward if you try it with someone, and it will be awkward when you do it with yourself.
Right. I was just going to say, it is really a great idea to do it with somebody else that you feel safe and comfortable with, because you know, if you get to a point where you don't want to push yourself any further, you can get distracted by something, conveniently. And if you're
Mhm.
with someone else, they're going to hold you to finish, right? Because it's when you get down into that third, fourth, fifth layer that you start to go, I think I'm going to go get a snack.
For sure. I gotta go clean my closet. I would say, also come back to it. I just did this. I'm doing a Speak Up to Stand Out series on the Outer Cape, a virtual program, and I did it with the women on the call, and a couple of them really struggled with it, which I understood. Of course, we all do. And I said, you know what, go home and think about it. Let's talk about it next week. And they came back next week, and there was some blockbuster wise on there. You know, there was some really blockbuster wise, and they every single one of them went back to their childhood. Every single one.
Yeah.
But that's a different episode.
Yes. It's a totally different episode. It's its own series.
I think
Trauma
it
from
might be.
childhood.
And that'll be a fun one. Let's talk about our childhood trauma, everybody.
So much fun.
Um, Always fun. So I want to share this quick story that I was telling you about, and I did tell this friend that I would share the story. So I may have told it already. I tell it a lot. So over the holidays, I went to visit a dear friend of mine who I adore, and we were going to get our hair blown out. That is my happy place, and I love doing that. And so very casual. We're in the car driving to the place, and we were talking about travel. She travels quite a bit. She travels for work and she also travels for personal, and she loves traveling, and so do I. So I said very casually, I had no intention of going down this road. I said, why do you think we love to travel so much? Like, why do you love to travel so much? I thought for sure she was going to say, I like meeting other people and experiencing other cultures and other food. Like, that's why I like to go. I love to hear people's stories. And she said, I don't know. I mean, because I think, I think it's interesting, and I want to be interesting. And I was like, that's interesting, right? So I said, okay. I said, well, why do you think it's so important to be interesting? And this was a true, I hadn't kicked in here yet. She said, well, because if you're interesting, people will be interested. People will be interested in you, and you'll have conversations, and, you'll be interesting. And it might have gone the other way. She might have said interested first and interesting after. Anyway, so then I was kicking in, and I'm like, okay, this is where this something's happening here. So we drove a couple more minutes, and I'm like, so why do you think being interested is so important? I go, that's kind of random. Like, where's that come from? What do you think? She said, well, she goes, that, I don't, I mean, well, I think that, and this is her talking, right? She said, I think that, you know, it's just, it's awful if you're not interesting. And it's just awful. Who doesn't want to be interesting? And I'm like, something's up here. So we pull into the parking spot. She puts the car in park. And I said, why are you so afraid of not being interesting? Why is that so like this is something here. She said, because if you're not interesting, you're going to end up alone, dying alone in your nursing home. And both of us, and by the way, this was a serious moment. I'm laughing because, first of all, we cracked up about it afterwards because we were like, hello, where did that come from? Both of us just kind of took a step back and our eyes widened, and we were both just kind of like let out a collective sigh. We were like, and her mom, when she passed away in a nursing home, and she was by herself. And I think she was by herself. Her father might have been with her, but um, and I was like, wow. I mean, we went from, oh, I love to travel, to here's my biggest fear, or here's one of my biggest fears. And this was in a span of seconds. It was a minute or less. So, I mean, it works, people. It works.
It does. It does. You got to take some time, dig a little deeper, take a breath.
Take a breath. Speaking of taking a breath, I'm going to take a breath and let Beth share. I don't know if you'll have it handy. Like, did we do this? Did I ever do this with you? Did we ever do this?
What, the why?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have.
Hmm. Any epiphanies over there that you care to share with your national, global?
Yeah. So I think the thing that you said that clicked for me was that, if you're with a group of people and suddenly you bring it up and say, oh, we're going to do this now, then they're like, something's up with this, right? They're not prepared. But when you're prepared and you're thinking about it, I mean, I think I'm that type of thinker anyway, to think about, why am I doing this kind of
Mhm.
thing, you know? Um, and so for me, I'm like, why do I want to write? And yes, I love to write for other people because people have wonderful skills and they have wonderful talents and experience and perspective, but they don't know how to put it out there. And it's really the thing that separates them. And I am always honored to be able to do that for somebody and to watch what happens afterwards. But like for myself personally, like growing up as a tiny little wafy only child in kind of this really raucous, dysfunctional household, I was quiet a lot, right? Because I was the only target. So I, learned how to camouflage into furniture, slink into another room. Nobody noticed I was gone, but I still wanted to communicate. I think I was always and still remain the type of person who's like, there's a way around this, right? I can get around this. And so I think writing was that for me, right? Because back then it wasn't like it was the computer and it was the universe. I could write it in a journal and I could hide the journal, or, I could write stuff down that I wouldn't say out loud or to someone's face, unless I want to get my butt beat. But I think it was just like, oh, I'm going to still communicate, and that's how I'm going to do it. And now I'm at this point where I'm like, I like to write and put things out there because I know, I can write these things that kind of catch people, that can be snarky and just on the
Mhm.
edge, and it makes people think. And it's not loud, right? And it's not on the radio or anything. It's something that they read that they have to stop and read over again. And I think there's really something cool about that.
I think there's something wicked cool about that. So would you say that writing was helped you feel heard?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's why you're such a great writer and editor. One of the reasons why you're such a great writer and editor, and that's one of the reasons why we bonded over this book.
Yes.
Was, by the way, for those of you who are new to the podcast, we're talking about the book that Beth edited and that I wrote. It's called Unmute Yourself and Speak Up to Stand Out. The book is about being heard.
Mhm.
And that's why we're both so, I mean, that's why you're so passionate about it. That's really interesting.
Mhm.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
All right.
Um, I had one other thing really quick before we left, and now I can't find it.
Woo.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, so this ties back to some episodes that we just covered. So why am I sabotaging myself? I mean, that's kind of a one answer, but maybe not. You might have to use the 5 whys on that. I did, and that was back in January 31st. And then we talked about success mapping on January 17th. That was like goal setting. When you're setting your goals is a great time to do this. A career change. What kind of business do I want to be in? What do I want to let go of? Like you can use this for all kinds of things.
Yes.
Um, and I think we can leave it at that. So what's the call to action, Beth?
So I would like to say, I mean, you can do this activity by yourself, but first of all, try the activity, right? And to also maybe do it with somebody else that you do feel that's safe with, that you can kind of pull each other, nudge each other a little bit to go just that one step deeper that could give you that epiphany.
Yes, and it has to be someone you trust.
Absolutely.
Has to be someone you trust. Fun fact, my husband
Mm-hmm.
strongly resists this. Will not do it with me.
Really?
Hmm. And he listens to the podcast, by the way. So
Wow.
this is my way of shaming him. Publicly shaming. Okay, so Podsters, the link is going to be in the show notes. And as always, keep in touch with us. Let us know how it's going. If you like us, please, please, please give us a review on either Apple or Spotify. I think that's it, right?
I think so, right. And, keep listening. If you haven't heard the right thing yet, you will. We promise you. Somewhere in there will be the thing for you.
Promise. Okay, with that, we're out.
We're out.